Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to the We Stories. Today I prepared three interesting stories for you. The first one is horror. The second one is intrigue. And the third one is detective. My English is not perfect yet, but I want to share interesting stories with you, bring your emotion and become better with you. So take your place, take your food, and let me tell you a new story. The first story. The elevator stopped on the floor 13. Horror. There was no 13th floor. At least, that's what everyone said. My name is Eric, and 2 years ago I moved into an old hotel, converted into apartments. Cheap rent, good location, nothing special. The building had 12 floors. Everyone knew that. The elevator button went from 1 to 12. No 13, just like many old hotels. One night I came home late, around 2 a.m. The lobby was empty, completely silent. I entered the elevator, pressed 8, and waited. The doors closed. The elevator started moving. Then, suddenly, it stopped. The display changed. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then something impossible appeared. 13. I froze. There was no button for 13. No floor 13. Yet the display clearly showed it. Then the doors opened. Slowly, very slowly. Beyond them was a hallway. Dark, long, silent, with old wallpaper and flickering lights. I had never seen it before. No, not in this building. Then I heard something. A woman's voice. We're far away, whispering, "Help me." Then the elevator doors slammed shut. The elevator dropped hard. A few seconds later, the doors opened again, on floor 8. Everything normal, as if nothing had happened. The next morning, I asked the building manager about floor 13. His face turned pale. Then he said, "There has never been a floor 13. Then he quietly added, "At least, not anymore." I stared at him. "What does it mean?" The manager hesitated, then shook his head. "Forget about it," and walked away. But I couldn't forget. Not after what I saw. Not after hearing that voice. That afternoon, I went to the city library to search old newspaper. Anything about the building. After 3 hours, I found an article dated 1984. The headline read, "Fire kills 7 in hotel tragedy." The fire started on the 13th floor. Late at night, most people escaped. 7 didn't. One name caught my eye. Emily Carter, 23 years old, missing, never found. Below the article was a photo, the hotel staff, standing together, and among them was a young woman, dark hair, pale face. Emily Carter. My blood red cold, because I recognized her. She was the woman from the hallway, the one calling for help. That night, I waited for the elevator. 2 a.m. exactly. The doors opened. I stepped inside and pressed 8. The elevator moved. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then the display changed again. 13. The doors opened. The hallway was waiting. Dark, silent, endless. This time I stepped out. The doors closed behind me and the elevator disappeared, leaving me alone. Then I heard footsteps, slow footsteps, coming towards me, and at the end of the hallway stood Emily, looking directly at me. Then she whispered, "He's still there." The words echoed through the hallway. I stared at Emily. "What do you mean?" Her face became pale. Then she pointed behind me. Slowly I turned around. At first I saw nothing, just darkness. Then a figure stepped forward. A man, tall, wearing an old hotel uniform. Burn marks covered his face. His eyes looked black. Emily stepped back, terrified. Even now. Then she whispered, He started the fire." Suddenly memories flooded my mind. Not mine, someone else. I saw the hotel in 1984. I saw the flames, the panic, people running, and I saw him, the maintenance manager. The man responsible. He accidentally caused the fire, then locked the emergency exit to hide his mistake. 7 people died, including Emily, and when he realized what he's done, he jumped into the fire himself. But none of them ever left. For 40 years, their spirits remained trapped on floor 13. Then Emily looked at me, tears in her eyes, and said, "We needed someone to remember." Then she handed me something, an old room key, room 1313, the room where it began. The moment I took the key, the hallway began to disappear, the lights faded, the walls vanished, and so did Emily. The next thing I knew, I was standing inside the elevator. The display showed 8. Everything normal. The next morning, I went to City Records and exposed the truth. The real cause of the fire, the locked exit. Everything, a memorial was built. The victims were finally honored. And after that, the elevator never stopped at floor 13 again. But I still have the key. Room 1313. And sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I hear a woman's voice whisper, "Thank you." So, my dear listeners, what do you think about this story? Please, write in the comments. The second story. My professor's wife kissed me. The kiss lasted less than a second, but it ruined an entire years of my life. My name is Noah. I was 22 years old, and I was studying law at one of the best universities in the state. My favorite professor was Daniel Harper. Brilliant, respected, successful. Everyone admired him, including me. One evening, he invited several students to his house. A small celebration, nothing unusual. That was when I met his wife. Her name was Claire. She was beautiful, very beautiful. The kind of woman who immediately gets attention. At first, everything felt normal. We talked, laughed, had dinner. Nothing more. Then something strange happened. Every time I looked up, Claire was looking at me. Not casually, not accidentally, intentionally. Sorry, intentionally. I tried to ignore it until the party ended. People started leaving, one by one. I was one of the last people there. Professor Harper was upstairs, taking a phone call, and somehow I ended up alone in the kitchen with Claire. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled and asked, "Do you trust Daniel?" The question surprised me. "Of course." She laughed softly, then whispered, "You shouldn't." Before I could respond, she stepped closer, much closer. Then, suddenly, she kissed me. I jumped back immediately, shocked, confused, terrified. Then Claire whispered, "Now he'll believe you." At that exact moment, Professor Harper walked into the kitchen, and he wasn't surprised at all. He just stood there, looking at both of us, calm, too calm. My heart was pounding. "Professor, I can explain." He raised a hand, stopping me. Then he looked at Claire and asked, "Did you tell him?" Claire nodded. "No." Professor Harper sighed, then sat down. "Sit, Noah." I didn't want to, but something in his voice made me obey. Then he said something strange. "You're not the first student this happened to." I felt a chill. "What?" Claire looked down, ashamed. Then Daniel continued. "For years, Claire has done this. Kissed students, flirted with them, tested them. I couldn't believe it. Why?" Neither of them answered immediately. Then Claire finally spoke, because I was trying to save them. The room went silent. Save them? From what? Then Daniel opened a drawer and removed a folder. Old newspaper clipping, photos, police reports. I looked closer and froze. Every photo showed a student, former student, all from Daniel's classes, and several were marked missing. I looked at Daniel, then at Claire, then back at the folder. "What is it?" Daniel looked terrified. For the first time that evening, then he whispered, "They all disappeared after meeting the same person." "Who?" Daniel smiled hard, then answered, "My brother." The room went silent. I stared at Daniel, certain I had misunderstood. "Your brother?" Daniel nodded. His name was Victor Harper, older than Daniel, charming, successful, the kind of man people trust immediately, especially young people, students like me. Then Claire spoke. "Victor offers internships, private mentorship, special opportunities." I frowned. Then sounded normal. Does that sound normal? Then Daniel added, "And then they disappear. The missing students, the newspaper articles, the police reports. Suddenly it all made sense." Then Daniel handed me a photo, a recent one. I nearly dropped it, because I recognized the man. I had met him 3 days earlier on campus. He introduced himself as a recruiter and invited me to dinner. Victor Harper, Daniel's brothers, the same man. Then Claire finally revealed the truth. The kiss wasn't about attraction. It wasn't about romance. It was a test, a warning. Students who immediately responded unusually followed Victor's anywhere. Students who stepped back sought for themselves, like I did. That was why Claire smiled after the kiss. She wasn't seducing me. She was checking if I could be trusted. The next day, it's strange. The next day, I agreed to meet Victor, but not alone. Daniel and the police were waiting nearby. The meeting lasted 20 minutes. Victor talked about opportunities, money, travel, success, exactly as Daniel described. Then the police moved in. Victor tried to run, but failed. And when investigators searched his properties, they found the truth. Several missing students were alive, living under false identities, manipulated, controlled, used. Months later, the investigation became national news. Victor went to prison. Daniel returned to teaching. And Claire, she finally stopped blaming herself for not saving everyone. Years later, I received a letter. Inside was a short note written by Claire. It said, "That kiss saved your life." And for the first time, I realized she was right. So, the end of the story. So, guys, what do you think about this story? Write in the comment. The third story. The body in the evidence room. The body had been dead for 8 years, at least according to the records. The problem was, it wasn't there yesterday. My name is Detective Laura Bennett, and this case nearly ended my career, maybe my life too. It started on a Tuesday morning, routine inventory. Nothing exciting, nothing unusual. Then Officer Grant called me. His voice was shaking. "Detective, you need to come down here." 10 minutes later, I was standing inside Evidence Storage B, a secure room. No public access, no windows, only one entrance. And in the middle of the room was a body, covered with a white sheet. I pulled the sheet back and immediately felt sick. Not because of the body, because of who it was. I knew that face. Everyone in the department did. His name was Michael Cross, the detective. A good one. Missing for 8 years. Officially, his case was never solved. Nobody, no suspects, nothing. Until now. Then the coroner arrived and made things even worse, much worse, because according to the body, Michael hadn't been dead for 8 years. He had been dead for less than a week. That was impossible. Michael disappeared 8 years ago, so where had he been? And who put his body in our evidence room? Then we found something in his pocket. A note, folded carefully. I opened it. Only 4 words were written inside. and every one of them made my blood run cold. The note said, "Check locker 27. The problem was, locker 27 belonged to me. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Everyone in the room stared at me, including my caption. I grabbed my case and headed for the locker room, fast, because I needed answer. Locker 27 looked normal, exactly as I left it. Nothing unusual. I unlocked it, opened the door, and froze. Inside was a box, a black metal box. I had never seen it before. Never. My caption frowned. Open it. So I did. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Old photos. Then I saw something worse. My own face. In one of the pictures, I felt my stomach drop. The photo was 8 years old. Taking the week Michael disappeared, and I was standing beside him. The problem? I didn't remember it at all. Then we found a flash drive, hidden beneath the photos. Labeled for Laura. My hands were shaking. As I plunged it into a computer, one video file appeared. Nothing else. I pressed play. The screen flickered, and Michael Cross appeared, alive. The recording was dated 8 years ago. Michael looked exhausted, scared, desperate. Then he spoke. Laura, if you're watching this, they finally found me. The room became silent. Everyone watched. Nobody moved. Then Michael said something impossible. Don't trust Captain Reynolds. Slowly, everyone turned towards the captain, including me. And for the first time, Captain Reynolds looked nervous. Captain Reynolds looked nervous. For the first time in 20 years, I had never seen him afraid. Until now. The video continued. Michael looked directly into the camera, then said, 8 years ago, I discovered something inside the department. A secret operation. Illegal. Very illegal. The room became silent. Nobody even breathed. Michael continued. The operation was run by police officers. High-ranking officers. Then he said the name. Captain Reynolds. Everyone turned. Reynolds stood up immediately. This is nonsense. This provides nothing. But the video wasn't finished. Michael held up a folder. A familiar folder. The same one we found in the box. So Michael smiled sadly and said, If you're seeing this, I'm already dead. But Laura can still finish the case. My heart stopped. Why me? Then Michael answered, As long as she doesn't remember. The screen went black. Nobody spoke. Then suddenly, a memory returned. 8 years earlier, a warehouse. Michael standing beside me, handing me a file, then saying, If something happens to me, hide everything. Suddenly I remembered. I had hidden the evidence years ago to protect the investigation. And Michael, the box, the photos, the flash drive. I had placed them there myself. Then erased the memory, including from myself, because Michael knew someone would be watching. And he was right. Captain Reynolds pulled a gun. The room exploded into house. The room exploded into chaos. People shouted, officers moved, then a shot rang out. Seconds later, Reynolds was in handcuffs. His career was over, his secrets exposed. Weeks later, the investigation was finished. Michael's murder was solved. The corrupt officers were arrested, but one mystery remained. Who placed Michael's body in the evidence room? Nobody ever found out. 6 months later, I received a package. No sender. Inside was a photo, taken inside evidence storage B. The photo showed Michael's body being wheeled into the room by someone wearing a police uniform. The face was hidden, but on the back someone had written, "You missed one." And that's when I realized the case wasn't over. The end of the story. Oh my god, who did this? Why stories end? So guys, what do you think about this story? Write in the comments. So, thank you my dear listeners for spending this time with me. If you like this story, please like, subscribe, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow you hear a new interesting stories. Thank you and have a good day. See you again soon, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners, for spending this time with me. If you like these stories, please like, subscribe, write in the comments what do you think about this story, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow I have new interesting stories for you. So, see you again soon, my dear listeners.